everyone. I'm Professor Doc, and you're watching Professor Doc's Dark Science. Today we're... Wait a minute, what the... Hold on a minute. Jeez. Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Doc, and you are watching Professor Doc's Dark Science. And on today's subject, we're going to be talking about some of the more compelling evidence for McGlaci's Comet. McGlaci's Comet is most likely the comet that caused the Permian extinction, as well as some very radical changes to the shape and size of the Earth itself. But before we get into the topic at hand, it would probably be prudent to give you a brief history of Joseph McGlasi, as not a lot of people know who Joseph McGlasi was. So we'll give you a quick history of McGlasi's life and his brilliant and extraordinary career as a freelance physicist, and the impact his works had on the scientific community at the time, and what the rediscovering of his brilliance means to everyone today. Joseph Albert McGlasi was born in April of 1930. The exact date is not exactly known, and we will touch on that later on. He was either born in this house in Tormaketti, Ireland, or in a yurt somewhere in the location of present-day Kazakhstan. His father, Connor McGlasi, was a well-known window maker and ex-former British spy in World War I. In August of 1927, he married Olga Altenhofer, a professional hawk trainer whom he had met in Clairvaux, France during the Great War. As I said before, Joseph was then born in April of 1930. At that time, his parents were working abroad as missionaries, and hence that is the reason we do not know the exact location of where he was born. The exact day is not known either, nor was Joseph ever told the exact day of his birth, though later in life he was quoted as saying, "I am grateful to my parents for not marking the specific day, as it leaves me 31 days to choose the most convenient for a celebration." Joseph was educated at home, and his education started rather young. His mother spoke 5 languages fluently, including English, German, French, Mandarin, and a southern dialect of the Sino-Tibetan tribes, as well as being proficient in Latin, Hindu, Greek, and Punjab. Olga set up a rather extensive teaching schedule for the young Joseph in their home, while also allowing time for him to learn the art of glass and window making from his father. Joseph later in life said that his father also taught him skills from his days as a British spy, though he never would go into specifics on that matter. At the age of 18, Joseph's home education was finished, and he chose to travel abroad for a year. It's not actually known where Joseph went. He did keep a detailed journal of his travels, but the location of that journal is not known. It is thought that he made a pilgrimage back to the possible origin of his birth in that yurt on the plains in Kazakhstan, but until we find definitive proof, we may never know that. We do know, however, that a year later, when he returned, he tested for and was accepted into the prestigious Institute Berlin Polytechnico, where he majored in mathematics and physics. Joseph proved to be an exceptional student, and after graduation, he returned immediately for 1 more year to study in the fresh field of theoretical astronomy. It was after this monumentous year that Joseph began his critical analysis of what is considered to be factual science. Now that we've touched on who Joseph McGlasi was, we can get straight to the topic of McGlaci's Comet and the evidence of McGlaci's Comet. First off, McGlaci's Comet is not actually a comet. It's more of a comet catcher. McGlaci postulated that a small or medium-sized pseudoplanet circling near the Kuiper Belt would collect comets, as well as throwing comets out into our solar system. And McGlaci's Comet, as we call it, is probably the instrument that kicks most of the comets out that we know right now, but also, as I said, collects them. Its gravitation would pull the comets out into its orbit, and then with its greater gravity on its orbit around again would collect these comets. And the outer crust of the pseudoplanet was completely encased in comet ice. Then sometime in its early lifetime, either from the gravitational pull of one of the rogue black holes that wander the galaxy, or the emissions from a supernova, or perhaps glancing onto the buckle of the Kuiper Belt, it was thrown out of its orbit and into the inner solar system, where it eventually met with the Earth, the early Earth, and struck it in a manner that ejected all of its coating of meteoric ice into the planet itself, then ricocheted off and became our moon. But that meteoric ice was buried under the crust of the Earth, and that is the greatest evidence that the comet exists, because all that ice that is under the crust of the Earth, surrounding the entire planet, is what makes groundwater, the temperature of groundwater and well water, to be an average of 50 or 52 degrees, which just happens to be the exact temperature of the old-fashioned ice boxes, where you would put a big hunk of ice in the top of the ice box and store your perishables in there. They stayed an average of 50 to 52 degrees. That is the temperature that insulated ice keeps food, and that is why, because of all this meteoric ice under the crust of the Earth that is well insulated, we have groundwater that is 50 to 52 degrees on an average. That is the most irrefutable evidence of McGlaci's Comet. And I will be touching more on that in a later video. Right now, this is Professor Doc, going dark.